It was 1st of January 2021, and I was standing on a beach in Adelaide, and it was the first day of the new year, and it was one of those sparkly kinds of days that we get in the midst of an Australian summer with a blue sky. And the waves were splashing in, and little children were jumping and screaming. Parents were worrying. And I stood on the beach in my swimsuit, with my hair falling onto my shoulders and gently down my back. And my skin was warm from the sun, and the cold water splashed on it and smarted against my skin. And if you had been there that summer's day and looked across at me, you would have seen a woman who was very content, very happy, very comfortable in her skin. That was me. And that day was a dream come true for me, because that hadn't always been my reality. When I was born in Sydney, in the Royal North Shore Hospital on the 22nd of July 1959, yes, I'm 66, the doctors held me up and exclaimed triumphantly, "It's a boy!" And so I'm a trans woman. I was identified male at birth and remained that way until 2019, when at the age of around about 60, I transitioned to become the woman I was always meant to be. And I am so comfortable in my skin, so delighted with what I have created now. This is my authentic self, my body. But there was more to it than that. People ask me, they say, "Bobby, you've lived 60 years as a man and 6 years as a woman now. What have you got to say to men, and what have you got to say to women?" And I say to men to be more emotionally vulnerable, and to allow your brothers and sisters to be more emotionally vulnerable too, because the biggest part of my transition has not been the gender. My story isn't about gender. It's just part of the story of being human. It's just part of the story of creating the person that I am today, because we are all humans on this planet having an emotional experience. Playing the cards that we are dealt with. All of our journeys are different. I would rather not have been trans, because who would choose that if they could avoid it? But that was my journey. So I would say to men, having landed in the world of women and learnt what I've learnt, to be more emotionally vulnerable. And what would I say to women? This is a generalization. This is not for everybody. But let's get out of the boxes. Let's get out of the boxes that we find ourselves in, or that we agree to be in. For example, the age box. People tell me, "Bobby, act your age. Bobby, grow up. Bobby, you shouldn't wear that. That's for young people." And I say, fuck off. I refuse to be put in that box. As I have journeyed through my life, I've had not just one transition, but two. In fact, we're all transitioning all the time. The person we were yesterday is not the same as the person we'll be tomorrow, and we get to choose what reality we create for tomorrow. But my other transition, which I called my big one, is my mindset. Because while I was living this life of questioning my own body and how come I feel awkward in my own skin, I always felt that I was failing, struggling, unsafe, unsuccessful. Always wanting more, always wanting to be an entrepreneur, always wanting to make money, always wanting to know why I was here on this planet, what was the big thing that I was going to do. And I kept looking and looking, and I did personal development. I lived in London for 25 years, did so much personal development. T. Harv Eker, Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, Blair Singer, lots of other people. And I was looking for my passion. Where's my passion? I looked everywhere. People were looking for their passion. Where is it? You know, like, is it behind the fridge? Is it under the cushions on the sofa? Where's my passion? I couldn't find it. And one of my coaches came up to me and tapped me on the chest and said, "There it is, Bobby, there it is." But I didn't know what he meant. I couldn't find it. And I kept looking and looking. I felt like I was a table with many, many legs, which were all my competencies. I was good at this and good at that and good at the other. But what was the top? What was it supporting? What was it for? And I didn't know. We moved back from London, my family and I, and went to live in Sydney, and everything fell apart. It was so hard. And I lived with my family for 6 years between 2013 and 2019, trying to create businesses, trying to make money, trying to be successful. And all the time I'm transitioning in a body that didn't fit, trying to make money. And I was so sad, so depressed on antidepressants. I saw psychologists. My emotional support was my doctor and my electrolyst. 200 hours of electrolysis to change your face. It's not cheap. And I cried and cried and cried. They were my emotional support. And then I left my family, and I lost my marriage, lost my family, lost dreams that I once had, and left and moved to care for my mother, who had dementia and subsequently passed away. And during that time, I was trying to run some businesses, multi-level marketing businesses, and no success, none whatsoever. And after a couple of years, this was like during COVID, I came to the decision that, this wasn't working and I needed help. To ask for help, to be open to receiving help. And so I reached out for coaching. And coaching was the access point to a world of women who were evolved, had done the work, and welcomed me into that world. And my coach, she got me to stop all the doing and start being. Stop all the controlling and start trusting. And soon my can'ts turned into cans, and all of the failings that I felt I started reframing into successes. And I had so many ideas. I could do this. I can do this. And she said, "Bobby, what lights you up the most? And I said, I feel that I will make more impact with what I say than with what I do. And then my speaker coach appeared. And then I moved to the Sunshine Coast and left Adelaide. And I came for energy and community and opportunity and to be warmer. And I've had all of those. And now I step into the unknown every day. I do the hard things. I face the discomfort, and I have grown my nervous system, my emotional capacity to hold tension. And I shouldn't have had to transition to this world of emotional intelligence, but I so did because it was women, and particularly these empowered women, who showed me how to live. And through my transitions, all of my transitions, I have found that I am happier than ever, more fulfilled than ever, and freer than ever. And so this is the power of authenticity. Getting out of the boxes and the belief systems that I felt were my truth, like I am insecure, I am struggling, I am an introvert, and now I've done the test and I'm 91% extrovert. Who knows their number? So this is how I want to close tonight. Life is short. One day, there will be no more one days. Make your one day today and step boldly into your own authentic truth.